Hey everyone, it's Coach Mo Faul. We are talking today about a subject that I hear about so many times, so often. Let me just raise things up here. It 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 gets under my skin, I have to admit. The gender pay gap has been going on for the start of history, and now is the time to end it. And I help women in my workshop end this gender pay gap once and for all. It doesn't mean that it's over. It means we know how to solve the problem. We know how to cure the basis of this disease. And it is as rampant as any bad disease that has ever hit humanity. The gender pay gap stifles families. It stifles now the dominant breadwinner in many families, at least in the US, is the woman. There are so many single moms raising families, doing their thing. They're the only breadwinner in so many households. So the gender pay gap has got to end. It has got to end for the sake of the women who are raising families and the women who are bringing the bread home to their families. Why does this still exist? What are we doing still having a gender pay gap? It's a multi-dimensional, multi-layered problem that I'm going to break down for you here today. And I'm going to give you some solutions of how to start getting at this yourself. Now, if you're one of my clients and you've been through my workshop, a lot of what I'm talking about is going to sound familiar. It's one of those things, though, that even if you've heard it, even if you've worked on it, it is so deeply ingrained in us. It's really a lifetime of ridding ourselves from this programming. And that's exactly why the problem persists. Not only are we as women programmed a certain way, but the men in our lives are as well. And frankly, without bringing up the topic, it's as if it doesn't exist because this is just how life goes. So we have polite articles talking about the gender pay gap for decades. We've been talking about it all of my lifetime. The ERA amendment was something that came up in the 1970s when women were fighting for the vote in the 1920s. Like, all of this has been part of the dialogue among gender inequalities for over 100 years. And I'm certain much longer than that. The prohibition that happened before the right to vote was actually women putting a stop to their drunken husbands using all of their paycheck or a good portion of it to get drunk. That was the underpinnings of it. I've done a little bit of historical digging on that because it was interesting to me years ago. And that's what started it all. Women were sick and tired of the money coming into their families being used by their husbands for debauchery. So that lasted for a couple of years. And so now women are in the driver's seat in many homes making the money. But what hasn't gotten fixed is how we think about ourselves, how we think about money, and who we are relative to the men in the workplace. This has not gotten fixed. And so I am eager to talk about this problem because I see it, I hear it every single day on the clarity calls that I do and my team does with women all over the world. And it's all over the world. It's not just a problem in the US. But since I'm US based and since over 30 years in the workforce, I know this as well as I know anything. I know what happens. And I hear women all the time. And some of the examples I put in my email blog this morning, one woman was an intern for 2.5 years. She got a pay bump while she was doing the interim job, but she didn't get the full-time job after 2.5 years of doing the job. And she equated to me that it was all played out well done. She was doing a great job, etc. They ended up hiring a man with much less experience and less degrees. And in academia, as a dean, like, the degrees you have is somewhat important for your credibility, etc. So she's losing 50 grand. And she's either going to go back to being a professor or some other lesser slot. The shame, the distraction of all of that. And what she really has to do is move on and get that spot somewhere else. But now, after that humiliation and that assault to her professional work, it's really tough to get back up there. Unfortunately, this woman in particular was a little bit too busy to work on her career. Oh, that just, I don't get it. The number one thing you do with your life, even if you're a working mom, is work. You spend 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes more, working, showing up at some place and putting your effort, and then in return getting money. The energy transfer of that is the most important thing in your day. When that doesn't work, whatever piece of it's broken, when that doesn't work, you are bringing a less than mother, wife, partner, whomever, home. You're not the person that you're meant to be. When you are suffering at work, you are bringing a less than person home. Make no mistake about it. And if you haven't seen it yet in your relationships, kids, maybe I've heard so many working moms, their kids are basically saying, Mom, you're tired all the time. You don't pay attention to us. You this, you that. So the stress of coming home and not being your fullest self is rough. So this woman coming home to her kids, working her butt off, 2.5 years striving to get that final job, she didn't get it. And I'm sure there were more reasons of her playing or not playing the power game that caused that not to happen. But the pay gap is real. How many times have I heard from women, they hired a guy above me, but he doesn't even have a master's degree and he hasn't even done this type of work before. And he's going to be making $20,000 more. I hear this all the time. Not only that, but I hear that men being hired, hello ladies, men being hired and making more than the woman who's been in the role for a long time. The pay gap is real, and I want to do something to stimulate you in whatever role you're in, that this week be your week to step into your power and do something about it. And I'm going to give you some strategies to do something about it. But I want to lay it down so you fully understand what's going on. And it started when you were a little girl. When you were a little girl, how you were socialized, how you were taught to be, is the underpinnings of why you're paid less than your male counterparts. And every time I see the gender pay gap issue, I don't know that we're talking about it on this deep of a level. Hello, Valerie, Debbie, Carol, nice to see you, ladies. The level we need to be talking about this is to stop watching fairy tales. I know, but it's always a man coming to the rescue. Always. Always a woman who couldn't do something for herself. Always a woman who needed a man to save her or rescue her or bring her forward. Over. Disney, I know you've written some things that are not that way. All the years I was growing up and my mother was growing up, those were the lessons that we learned from a really small age. Not only that, hello, Robin, nice to see you here. Not only that, on the playground, hey, let Johnny play with your toy. And then when you want it back, Johnny doesn't want to give it back to you. And typically what the mother says is, let Johnny play a little bit longer. He can have it too. But meanwhile, Johnny's been playing with the toy for like way too long. Like, what's up with that? Looks like I'm having a little internet stuff here. So here's the thing. You were told at a very young age to let Johnny have your toy more than you. Why? I don't know, because we wanted Johnny to like us. We wanted Johnny to fall in love with us and save the day. We were afraid that Johnny would get mad and we couldn't handle that. What? All of those subconscious messages that A, we're not enough, that B, we're not worthy, and that C, we can't handle the conflict of getting ours. Give me that toy back. And Johnny gets mad. Deal with it. Little kids have to tussle this stuff out sometimes. And many times as young girls, we are taught to avoid that situation. Boys are taught to fight for their rights. Go get it. You go tell Billy that you're not going to put up with that anymore. Little girls aren't taught that. Little girls aren't taught, go tell Billy you're not going to put up with that anymore. No. Little girls are taught to be safe. Little girls are taught to be polite. Little girls are taught to not cause any problems, not be greedy, not be selfish, to go set the table before everyone has dinner. Little girls are taught to take care of everything else except themselves. It's no wonder in the workforce, that's what's playing out. Let me work my ass off 80 hours a week and then get told I'm not getting the promotion, and then get told that some less qualified man, and men, you can come at me if this is not resonating with you, please do, because I have had enough. Not only did I have enough in my own career, I have had enough with hearing the stories over and over from the women we talk to. It is still a topic that is relevant, that is happening, that is stifling the economy. I tell women all the time, so much of the US and world economy is built on women's poor self-esteem and sense of self. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault how you were raised. It's not your fault you were told to be polite. It's not your fault that you were never told that you could manage money and that you were worth it and that you should go for it. It's not your fault that no one ever taught you how to ask for more. It's not your fault. But what it is your responsibility to fix it. There's a big difference. I don't need you to feel bad about it. I don't need you to be shamed about it. I want you to take responsibility for it. I want you to own the truth that there is only one person who is going to go after a higher paycheck for you, and that's you. There's only one person who's going to truly advocate for why you're the best person for that promotion. Still battling this cold. Hang on. Woo! All right. I'm back. There's only one person who's truly going to set your career up to the next level and make it happen for you, and it's you. If you have a mentor or a supportive manager or leader, fantastic, but it's still up to you. And so many times I've seen women's careers derailed because they counted on that person. And then when they left, or when they're fired, or when they move on, or when they get promoted, all of a sudden now their advocate is gone. Now who? It's up to you no matter what. Sorry, I'm trying to look to see who's joining us. Valerie, Debbie, it's always great to see you, darling. No shame. Pay and value my worth. Absolutely. The gender pay gap is because not only do you have programming, but so do everyone you're working with. I have a good friend of mine. She's a big global HR person, Kristen Pressner. And maybe, Kimmy, maybe we can find the link for her TED Talk. She admitted a couple of years ago that she had unconscious bias. When a man came to her asking for a review of his salary, she was right on it. And when a woman did, she said, no, I think you're in the right pay zone. And she realized that her response was different based on male, female. So her thing is flip it to test it. So if in that same situation, you're the man and they're the woman, would the same thing have happened? Would the same discussion, same comments, same everything? Hardly ever. In the workplace and in our lives, we have such unconscious biases for us and for everyone in our world. So yeah, we're sometimes in a quagmire. But here's the thing. You can take care of one person's programming, and that's yours. And when you begin to arrive at a place where you are taking responsibility for owning your, hang on a second, I got to turn a light on here. When you are responsible for owning your truth and your future, you can now start to showing up in a big way. Isn't that cute how I can pop on my lights with my app? I love it. So Kristen Pressner, TED Talk, flip it to test it. Probably if you Google TED Talk, flip it to test it, that might come up. Thanks, Kimmy, for putting that link there. I appreciate it. I didn't think ahead of time to to get ready for that. But it's true. When we flip it to test it, we can see the unconscious bias in everything. I started my email out this morning recognizing and putting out there that you don't often see a woman say, we want a $10 million goal. I'm going to get my clients $10 million more. That's usually a very male, masculine, macho thing to say and to declare. And if you've been familiar with my work, you know that the primary goal of my work is to help you get in touch with your soul. It's to help you understand spiritually, energetically, subconsciously where you're at and how to increase your energetic vibration so that you are attracting and being attracted to the next higher level of you and the world. So usually that's what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about it today, but I'm also putting on the table the fact that you have families and futures and yourself to take care of. So I want you in the aggregate, if you're working with me, 2019, my goal is to have my clients gain an aggregate increase, not total compensation, aggregate increase of $10 million. 10 million. And we're already over 100,000 starting the year. So I'm super excited about that. If we get to $1 million a month, we're going to be well over that 10 million. But I am so excited for the outcomes we've already had this year for our clients. 50,000, 30,000, 20,000. Super excited because that means we're closing the gap. That means that for the woman who tolerated being in her job for 10 years, under a boss that kept her stifled, and now she has broken through. She's gotten all the great coaching. She's gotten the exact words to say, the exact strategies, and she had that conversation. She asked for hers, and now she not only has a strategy for this year, she also is queued up for what next year's strategy is going to look like for her. I'm so happy and excited and just overjoyed. She's got a son coming into college, a daughter going off to medical school. It matters. It matters. Money matters. And if you didn't see my Money Matters series, it's in the Bring Your Soul to Work Facebook group still. I contemplated offering that for something you could buy, but I didn't get around to it. So it's still kind of there in the Facebook group. So many of my clients have revisited that, and it's in their portal soon to come. But money does matter. And your pay gap because of your gender is intolerable. But the reason why it exists is because of the programming and conditioning and socialization that we've all had because of our gender. And you know what? There are some women out there who are asking for theirs, who are going out and going after it. In my experience, those are typically women who were raised with boys, brothers, and perhaps even a loving, careful father who made sure that she didn't feel that she couldn't achieve things because she was a girl. But so many are parented with, don't climb that tree too high, you might get hurt. Let your brother do that. That's too difficult for you to do, or too heavy, or too hard. Those are the insidious little things that have happened to us growing up. And then we get to school and we learn things from teachers, classmates, etc. Other parents. We go to a friend's home, and maybe their parent isn't as empowering and tells us not to do certain things. You can't do that. You're a girl. Don't do stuff like that. Girls don't want to fly to the moon. No. So what do you really want to do? I remember being told so many times in my young life that I couldn't do certain things or that I wasn't able to. Now, there were some things I truly couldn't do, which I wanted to do. I wanted to play Little League Baseball. And at that time, in my generation, there really was not a route to do that. And I was pissed off. And that was the beginning. I couldn't play football. I mean, I was pissed off. And I was a fast runner. I was a good athlete. I couldn't do some of the things that boys could do. So all my life, I've been uphill battle on doing things that girls aren't supposed to do. And then I picked nursing as my profession because it seemed like the right fit because I'm a girl. And there's certain things girls shouldn't do. Now, I went to high school with some women, young women who went to medical school, went to college for medical school and went to medical school and became doctors. For some reason, I didn't feel that I was that smart or ready to tackle that. So nursing, I'm glad I am a nurse because I love the profession and I love my nursing colleagues and everything about being a nurse. And soon after becoming a nurse, I went into healthcare management, and all the people I sat around the table with were typically all men. I was the token female, the token nurse, among all sorts of male doctors, managers, leaders, etc. And I was always kind of a little tear down, a tear down, a tear down. What do you know? You're a nurse. What do you know? You're a woman. And they may not have said it out loud, but being shut down in meetings, being told I couldn't, or being just kind of like cast off to the side just a little bit more. And if that isn't enough, if those of you who've probably been in the same situation as me, everyone breaks for the bathroom and you're the only woman, every other person's going to the male restroom and you're going to the women's restroom. There's discussion and there's things that happen and they come out of that and they've got another bond going on. I didn't have that. I did as much as I could to ask for mine, to get promotions, to ask for more money, to negotiate on my behalf. But to tell you the truth, I didn't have good support or role models to do that. Even my dad, who had 5 daughters and raised us all to pretty much think we could do it, didn't really know how to help us do it. And so we're in the world kind of murkily trying to figure stuff out. I navigated my career with a big dose of confusion a lot of the times, a big dose of not feeling like I fit in. And so many times I just went for it anyway because I'm like, darn it, I'm not going to let them win. I'm not going to let this be the problem. I'm not going to do that. So my tenacity and my competitiveness paid off often for me. But I still know the gender gap exists. I still know that there was money that was left on the table because I was a woman. And I still know that the almost 200 ladies who we served last year and the almost 200 before that have all suffered at the hands of this gender pay gap. There's not a single woman who I've worked with who has been 100% happy with the money that they're making. And, that's not a common thing either. There's not too many people out there who aren't 100% happy with their money they're making. But let me tell you this. When you know that the men around you are making more, it just, that next level of, gosh, is this even possible for me? Those creepy self-doubt questions begin to come in and start to inform how we do everything. It starts to have us take a back seat in meetings, not go for the next promotion because we just got X'd out over the last one. And even in interviews, if we want to move on and go somewhere else, we feel a little bit less than because of how we've been treated in our career. I want each and every one of you to be paid the maximum money in the marketplace for who you are, what you bring to the table. And I say to my clients all the time, your education, expertise, and experience is your treasure chest. And I want you to leverage that. Now, to be honest with you, I can't really give you all the exact strategies, techniques, and negotiating ploys that I use with my clients because that wouldn't be fair to them who have invested in my workshop. But I'm going to give you some high-level stuff to consider, and I'm going to implore upon you to make this the year that you have decided that you're going to get paid your worth, that you are not going to be a victim of the gender gap, that you are not going to play any bit smaller just because of the messages that you've gotten all your life, that you're going to actually erase that programming as much as possible, and it may take a while, and that you are going to enter into the workforce for your next promotion, your next job, your interviews, etc., with the full force of who you are and what you've got going on. And if that seems like an inconquerable mountain, please call us. Book your clarity call. We are serious about getting our women results. We will brush up your resume and all of your LinkedIn and get you going forward. But what we're really going to do is to help you own your worth from the inside out. Hey, Paula, good to see you here. You know what? You have a big career move to make this year, and I'm super excited for you. Paula is one of my grads, and we're going to help facilitate as much as we can from the grad group perspective. But you have all the tools. You have all the tools to make something bigger and something more for you. Here's the thing. You've got to practice being a powerful version of you on a regular basis. So, item number 1 for this week, practice that version of you. I think I said that to you last week, and I'll say it to you again and again. Angela, practice being the version of you who is paid her worth and feels awesome about it. Practice her. Drive your car like her. Eat your lunch like her. Talk to other people. Facilitate your LinkedIn connections from her perspective. The woman who is making the money that she deserves, being treated and appreciated in a way that is absolutely valuable and worth her worth. Hey, Michelle, nice to see you too. If this seems like an unsurmountable task for you, and you are ready to work with a professional expert, or as Blake Shelton does, let's see. We're ready to go. We're ready to work with you. We are as many women as we can possibly bring into our workshop this year. Over the years, I've kind of held back and only been able to take a certain amount of women every month. And what I've done this year is I've scaled my business, added great extra coaches, great operational support, so that we can serve more of you, so that we can close this gender gap. That's right, sinner. Be the woman and change you. Change you in the world, and the world will change around you. Absolutely. And let's get that pay gap taken care of for you. Let's get that pay gap shrunk to 0. Now, obviously, there are companies who are obligated not to have a gender pay gap. But there are human beings making decisions, filling out personal action forms, putting HR paperwork in, etc. Those human beings carry with them their conditioning. Do what you can to raise your vibrational level to the level of absolutely being worthy and owning your truth for who you are and what you're worth. And as I say to some of my ladies, and then ask for more. Ask for more. That's what a kick-ass woman does. She asks for more. And in many of the negotiating sessions that we've done with our clients, they were like, really? You think I should ask for that? You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. And then they get back something more and bolder than what they thought they would get. Great negotiation does not necessarily mean you get what you ask for. It means you get more. And if more is what you're going for, it's called a successful negotiation. The clients in my workshop get the best of negotiating tactics as well, because I've been there and so have the coaches I work with. We go almost word for word in helping our ladies have the exact strategy to have those conversations. And you know what? If you don't have that conversation before you exit or before you have an exit plan, you're not serving yourself well either. So don't just leave. Don't just quit a job or leave because they haven't addressed that. You owe it to yourself to bring yourself up to a certain level and make the ask. You owe it to yourself to make the ask. You owe it to yourself and to the company that you're currently in, as long as it's not like super toxic and it's a place you have to like run like hell out of, to do your homework within the company that you're already known and liked. Now, with that being said, I don't want that fear brain rationalizing while you're still there. If you're below market, and if you haven't gotten a raise or a promotion in the last year, 18 months, 2 years max, if you have not moved forward on the pay scale, do something about it. The economy is strong. Companies are growing. There are sectors that are expanding like crazy, and there are some sectors that are shrinking. It'll always be that way, and it's always been that way. When we were in the industrial age, farmers weren't making the money that they used to make. Now people running factories and having factory management jobs were making money. And then, as you guys all know, we moved out of the Industrial Revolution and moved more toward the management revolution. And now we're in the tech revolution. So there are sectors that are growing leaps and bounds. If you aren't in a growth sector, you can still get a great job. So you don't have to be negative Nilly on, oh, but I'm in education, and oh, but this, and oh, but that. Ladies, build yourself up with a strategy so that you can leverage who you are and what you want to do. It's not a linear path, and it might be a little curvy and take a little creativity, okay? Do yourself a favor and give yourself this week to decide what your next steps are. If you're in my workshop, the plan is kind of sorted out for you, and we're going to get at it. If you're not, you owe yourself to book that career clarity call and get yourself a debriefing on what's really going on, how long you've been settling, or perhaps you're out of work. Perhaps you lost your job at the end of the year and you're not back in it. Whatever your situation is, if you're not where you want to be in your profession, if you're not making the money you want to make, and if you're not at the title that feels good for you, I can help you. And it is my commitment to help break this gender gap problem. My goal is for $10 million more for you. $10 million more for you. All right? Do you want a piece of that? Because that's what we're all about this year. We're all about delivering results for our clients and making sure that you and your family are raising the bar. So many families last year, 30, 35, 40, 50, 20,000, like the numbers were staggering. Staggering. What that tells you is that the amount of women who are underpaid and underemployed is staggering. Okay, staggering. So if that's you, get to work. So here's your to-do list. Your to-do list is number 1, act like the woman who you want to be with that raise. Number 2, take action at your current workplace. And if you're not currently employed, you better get yourself freaking employed. Take action to have that conversation and begin the wheels in motion to serve yourself. Many companies, this is eval time, annual eval time. Some do it on your anniversary date of hire. Some do it in the calendar year. Some do it after, they do their books for the year, whatever. In many cases, this is annual eval time. Get yourself ready. Get yourself ready for not only the conversation of the ask, but where you want to go. So you basically have 2 big questions on the table. How can I make more here? And how can I move up to make a greater contribution? You might want to flip those questions in the conversation, but either way, take action to move yourself into that. Book the meeting with your boss. Book a meeting with HR to find out what opportunities might be there. Schedule the meetings so that you go and do. So you're going to be who you need to be, and you're going to take action to do what you need to do. And ladies, if you're my client, the next piece, journal on it and visualize. Journal on your truth of your future and visualize. You must have the faith that it will come together for you, and you must use the energetic universe to leverage the other people. Oh, Debbie, I know you're going to go higher. Come join us. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is your fix the gender gap action items for this week. Go do it. Go make a play for your next income move. And right, I get it. If you can't do it on your own, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to help over 500 women this year move their careers forward, which means move their incomes forward. And with that being said, I am so committed to that $10 million number. I can't tell you. It has inspired me more than I can share with you because it's just so inspiring for me and my team. We are sick and tired of women getting the short end of the stick, getting the shorter, smaller paycheck, getting overworked, and getting passed over. Sick and tired. No more. So if I have to grab you off the street to help your career, we're going to do that. Well, not really. But what I want to say to you is this. I want to end this gender pay gap for all the women I work with. And we are going to do that for sure. I've been doing it for years, not only for myself, but we've had over, I think, 360 some women through my workshop. We have been conquering this mountain, and we will continue to do it, and we will do it and do it and do it. The last phone call that I have when a woman says, it's not my pay that's the problem. It's my ability to speak up in the next meeting. It's my ability to navigate like a vice president. I'll know that we have made headway. But until that day, we are pressing on to make sure that the women we work with are making more money and that feel great about their paycheck, and it's fueling their families and their futures. I am so passionate about this. So 2019, we close the gender pay gap for kick-ass women. We close it. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Yep, we can make this a reality. If you have education, expertise, and experience, and it's not where you want to be with it, we got you covered. But you have to book a clarity call, because if you're not a good fit for our workshop, and if we really don't think we can help you, not going to move forward with it. I want to help as many women as possible, but I can only help women with certain problems and who are coachable. That's part of the deal here too. You have to be ready to open your heart and your mind for something you've not done before. To fix this gender pay gap, you have got to be a version of you that chances are you have never been before. And you'll do it with guidance, great strategies, executive level strategies that work in every profession, great coaching, and the support of a sisterhood that is unparalleled on this planet. Some of them are right here. You've seen their comments. They're awesome, kick-ass women, and that's who we work with. Let's nip this. Let's get this done. Close the pay gap forever for you. And we'll keep doing it over and over again until we have 500 families this year making $10 million more in aggregate. I don't know. We're going to have some type of big party about that. We're going to have a massive, massive celebration for all those women who claimed theirs. No more being stifled. No more settling. No more feeling that you can't because you're a woman. No more taking not you because you're a woman. No more. No more. We're going to close this gender pay gap, and we're going to own the truth of women's earning power. 2019, hear us roar. Ladies, thanks for coming to the Motivational Monday today. For those of you in the workshop, I may see you on the call tonight, and let's rock this. Those of you who are grads, let's get you going as well in the grad group. Mwah. I love you all. Close the gender pay gap. Close the gender pay gap. It starts with me. It starts with me. It starts with me. It starts with me. Roar. Thank you, Chessa. That's it. 2019. We're going to roar into this. This is your kick-ass career coach, Mo Faul. You can find me at mofaul.com, and you can get started working with me at mofaul.com/strategy. Do yourself a favor. Make more money in 2019. Book your call. See you next time. All right. Thanks, ladies, for coming.